A Land Unknown, Hell's Dominion, by W.Melvin. A true story of existence beyond the grave. This book is dedicated to my father, whose laughter filled my family's days with joy. Acknowledgements. I would like to thank my lovely wife for her love and devotion. I would like to acknowledge my cousin, Debbie Freet, who helped to compile my many handwritten notes, as well as my sister, Rebecca Lee, and my mother for their gracious support. Many heartfelt thanks to David Middleton, whose inspiration helped to find the message revealed from my experience. Most of all, I would like to honor my father, whose personal battle with Alzheimer's inspired me to complete this book. Prologue. This book is about life after death, and a near-death experience. There are numerous books written on this subject. Many just contain beautiful pleasantries concerning heaven. Mine was not so kind. I saw another place. This event occurred in midsummer 1980 in Tucson, Arizona, and has left its mark upon me. Shortly after this experience, while visiting my parents in Virginia, I went to a friend's home to reminisce about old times, plus catch up on all the neighborhood happenings while I had been gone. I arrived while my old buddy was remodeling his basement. He proudly wanted to show me his handiwork. As I walked down the stairs to explore the new basement design, the smell of fresh linseed oil assailed me, causing a dizzy and flood of memories to unfurl before my mind. With each step, I began to sweat, shake, and turn pale. My friend grabbed my arm to steady me and asked what was wrong as we descended the stairs. I answered 2 words in reply: linseed oil. He asked if I was allergic to it. I told him no. Opening several basement windows, he apologized for the smell. He had been applying coats of linseed oil to a recently paneled bedroom midst an unfinished family room. The paneling was covered with shiny, unsullied coats of oil. Out in the uncompleted great room, the walls were in need of sheetrock, which made the bedroom look like a 10 by 10 foot-encased box. Looking at this, I began to tremble like one chilled to the bone. He said he completed the bedroom first and was now working on the other room. There would be a game closet here and a sink over there, aligning the protruding bedroom square with this area. The paneling looked nice, but the bedroom, so square, made tears well in my eyes and caused drops of sweat to moisten my brow. I quickly tried to regain my composure. My friend said he was sorry that the work was so bad that it made me ill. I told him no, he had done a fantastic job, and when it was finished, it would be grand. Was it the oil then that made me feel bad? No, it was something else. Recent memories, I explained. He asked me what. I then told him my story. After concluding, he retrieved a medical book from a cluttered bookshelf and had me look up a brief 2-paragraph section describing the medical possibility of near-death experiences and what these were. That was the first I had heard of anything like my experience. It was late fall 1981. He mentioned that I should write down the experience before the ravages of time distorted my memory. I did. I compiled a manuscript but sent the draft for further edit. When the notebook was returned, I left it hidden in a box. I could not touch it. The years rolled by. Haunting memories of my experience have deeply affected me. The smell of linseed oil or stale roses still brings on a surge of unpleasant memories without warning. If I am walking in a mall and see square-shaped windows, shivers sometimes run down my spine. Certain noises startle me, causing my heart to race with fear. I often have trouble sleeping. When nightmares interrupt pleasant sleep, I find myself repeatedly yelling out loud 2 words: Jesus Christ, over and over again till the nightmares cease. Pillows and sheets are drenched with sweat. Sometimes I find myself pacing for no apparent reason. If I tell the story of what I have seen, I tremble, wringing my hands, sweat, and often weep. It has been difficult to write this book, as it recalled to mind many events best left forgotten. It nevertheless has provided me a catharsis. Now I can put these memories behind me and reach forward to new horizons. I told a minister of my account, and he said it was quite the adventure that many may find hard to believe, but nevertheless I should tell my story. I was granted opportunity to speak before several local churches, congregations, and many found faith in Jesus as a result. I gave testimony many times of what had happened to me, each difficult as my voice would quiver and tears came. Telling my account over the years served to keep this event alive in memory. No matter, I could never adequately describe verbally what really happened. Maybe a book can, as the old minister implied. At the urging of friends and those touched by my story, I revised my old manuscript and completed this book. May my story help you find life and its meaning as it has for me. W.Melvin. Chapter 1. Fast forward in reverse. Are we destined to roam the earth like headless men? The unsteady ping from a heart monitor rang in my ears. Wires taped to my chest itched. Clean white sheets felt cool and fresh. My throat burned. Breathing was difficult. My stomach and intestines were seething with furious pain. I heard footsteps. A nurse entered the sterile hospital room. "Sir, please do not pull on the wires. They are for the monitor. I brought you something for pain." The nurse injected medication into an IV tube attached to my forearm. A warm sensation began filling my arm and then flowed through my body. "Tell me, nurse, I'm not in a cube, am I? Are you really real? Where am I? Am I breathing? Nurse, tell me this is not a cube, is it?" "Mr. Melvin, just relax. You are in a hospital room in Tucson, Arizona. Everything will be okay. You are very ill. The doctor will return soon. Can you tell me what year this is?" "Yes, it is July of 1980. "Good. You are improving. Let me adjust your pillow. There. Comfy?" The pain medication began taking effect. I was terrified of sleep and tried to fight the onrushing drowsiness. How did I arrive here? It was as though I had just emerged from a horrible living nightmare, lost in some unknown land, and I did not want to return by means of slumber. Everything was becoming all fuzzy. If only I could stay awake. I could not. My mind began drifting back to pleasant memories. Before all this began, back in Virginia, long ago, to happier times. We were restless. The weekend beckoned. Jobs ceased. Everyone who was anybody would be at the crypts. They were waiting for us to bring the beer, bags of goodies, and food for all. "Jay, hurry up and get in the car. Let's make tracks." "Ah, shut up, Mitch. We got the beer and the favors." "And I has the car. Where's Bones?" "I'm right here. Let's roll. Party time. Yee-haw." Mitch's old car was a pearl green GTO. Yes, a real muscle machine, guzzling gas at 6 miles to the gallon. Who cared? It was the 1970s. We were young and debonair. To the crypts. The crypts back then was Party Central. It was located near the ruins of an old church, lost in the coniferous Virginian forest. An old abandoned graveyard highlighted the scene. Most of the gravestones were so weathered by time that you could not read them anymore. Very few people knew it existed, making it the perfect location for youthful revelry. Almost there, Bones. A parking lot loomed into view through the partially cracked windshield. There was Mike with the ladies waiting around his 1965 two-tone blue Ford Mustang. Jack's Chevy Chevrolet was parked nearby. Jim had his red Dodge Charger moored under the shade of a tree. Mitch's GTO pulled to a stop. We piled out. "It's about time you clowns got here. Where's the beer?" "In the trunk." Back then you had to use a key to open the trunk. In a flash we had cases of beer hoisted upon our brawny shoulders, muscles flexed, girlfriends admiring the show. We headed towards an overgrown path that bordered the lot. The crypts beckoned beyond in the woods. To get to the crypts you had to walk over a quarter mile following an old narrow trail tangled with brambles and trees. This was once the main road years ago. The path now meandered through the thick forest. Gnats filled the warm, thick air around us. Mosquitoes quarreled for space. "I see it. Can't miss that old tombstone. There's John and Allison, and they have a fire going too. More than a fire, I bet." You could not miss the crypts, as a tall, gaudy tombstone marked its entrance. It stood next to the abandoned road. Across from it, on the other side of the road, was a spring bubbling cool, clean water. We used that water often for mixing drinks and slacking our thirst. Daylight faded. The warm, humid Virginia night closed in. In the middle of that long, lost graveyard, we congregated in a circle around a fire. It was the perfect place to tell an old legend about a headless man roaming the land. "Hey, Bones, tell us a story." "Yeah, you know the one." "The headless man?" Legend had it that during the American Revolution, an old man was beheaded by a British captain in payment for a local citizen's revenge killing of an English soldier. The elderly gentleman willingly offered himself as ransom, preventing his hometown from being burned to the ground. The story went on to tell how his friend buried him without his head, under the tall, ornate tombstone nearby. It was an old epitaph engraved in its stone. It had an odd epitaph engraved in its stone, barely readable now in the well-worn granite. Supposedly, if you read the epitaph out loud, this headless man would appear, seeking his lost head. Or yours. Depending on the punchline, the story caused our lady friends to cuddle close. Of course, that was its purpose. Was there really a headless man in that ancient grave? No one really knew for certain, but its moral was clear. Are we really the headless man seeking something that will make us whole again? Are we desperately seeking significance in our lives at the expense of everyone else? With fire blazing, beer cans open, cigarettes lit, night closing in, this legend grew tall with each telling of the tale. Reflections from the firelight danced on the old, weathered tombstone. The wind blew softly. Leaves quietly rustled. Footsteps were heard coming out of the dark forest. An intercom blared, jarring me back to reality. "Dr. Cole to emergency! Dr. Cole to emergency!" From the hallway, echoing footsteps woke me with a start. My glasses? Where are my glasses? I tried to raise my arm, but I was too weak. What had just happened? How did I arrive here? The sterilized smell of the hospital slowly brought me out of my medicated stupor. Am I in a cube? Please, God, not there in that horrifying place. Hours before I left a hellish dominion. Its stench and taste still lingered with me. Horrifying sights haunted my recent memory. The prospect of sleeping was terrifying. The medication was becoming more difficult to fight off. My old buddies and I used to joke about death when we gathered at the crypts to tell ghost stories, sitting in an old abandoned graveyard around a blazing fire. Why was I remembering that weathered tombstone at a time like this? God, I promised never to view death with flippant disregard as I did before. Hell was real. Death was real. Heaven was real. I saw it. I tasted it. I experienced it, and somehow returned. Why? No, I do not want to sleep. I must fight off this weariness. I do not want to wake up deceived again. Drowsiness won, returning me back to memories of standing before that odd tombstone years ago down at the crypts. If you read the words out loud, a headless man is supposed to appear, seeking his lost head or yours. You believe that? Heck no. Bones, you know the story. You read it. I dare you. I want to see the old geezer appear. Come on. Afraid? Read it. Dare you to. Yeah, you're the one who knows the story. Go ahead. Dare you to read it. It was hard to read the ancient stone. The first and third lines were so weather-worn that you had to ad-lib it. The fourth and sixth lines were barely readable, and the remaining prose stood out, outlined with moss. Don't waste life, God giveth. O ye merry ones drinking. Fast forward in reverse. My bones been lying here longer than you've been alive. Don't neglect keeping life live. That o'er most high grants. Are you assured of your eternity? I am, and am not here. Just my bones. Several of the group snickered, and others squirmed when no headless man appeared. Legends die hard, or maybe I didn't get the lines right. Forget this, there's no headless man. Break out the keg and let's get down. Time to party. The only headless man is you. Jim, I'm shaking in my shoes. I stood there gazing at this old weathered stone, pondering. Who is this man, a fool, a wise man, or just the rear end of a northbound mule? He was no headless man. Hey, let's make a toast to this old man and show some respect. We gathered around the gravesite with open cans of beer. Mitch, you begin. Here's to you, and to all us married ones drinking, and to all us merry ones drinking. Hear, hear. We all took a hearty swig and then poured ember-colored fluid upon the grave in hefty libation. In honor of him whose bones have been lying there a lot longer than we've been alive, we wish you the best, wherever you are. You are no headless fool. Amen. Now let's party down. Time to rock and roll. In quiet reflection, I sat with my back against that old crumbling tombstone, smoking a cigarette, watching everyone enlivening the scene before me. Why was I here? What was the reason for living? If we were all just going to be dust someday, would I roam about like some headless man aimlessly seeking meaning for my life? Would I ever find significance? What was the purpose of life? Whatever it was, it had to be better than living life fast forward in reverse, failing to look ahead at the real direction you were going. These old memories began to fade into dreams. Gradually, the busy sounds of a hospital began filling my ears. I awoke, coughing, and reached for the cup of ice next to my hospital bed. It was refreshing. Slowly, my senses began to return from this foggy stupor. I am in Tucson, not Virginia. That's right. A doctor was in my room along with a nurse. How do you feel? Like my insides are on fire. Nurse, please give Mr. Melvin a little more for pain. Doctor, I am not in a cube, am I? No, you are in a hospital. You need to rest. Your heart rate is unsteady, but improving. Relax. You will be here for a while. The nurse began injecting more pain medication into my IV line. I do not want to sleep, Doc. I do not want to sleep. Rest. This is not a cube. Don't let me return to that awful place. Rest. Doc, I can see my mother's prized tomato plants. What did you give me? Something for pain. Relax.